And now, as we move into our regular section here on the 60-second Friday show from Radio Free UK, first up we have Alan Taylor-Shearer with an update of what he's been up to this week in his own podcast, Alan's Antics. Take it away, Alan.
This week on Alan's Antics, well, once again we get an example of just how the establishment thinks. And just what they think of you and me. This is from WelfareWeekly.com. Job centre worker brands mum of three a scrounging bastard in an answer phone rant. A mum of three from Beckenham was left shaken after a Bromley job centre worker accidentally left an answer phone message seemingly accusing her of being a scrounging bastard that's popping out kids like pigs, it's been reported. It just shows you the contempt they have for the people that they're supposed to call their clients or their customers. No, we're just scum to them. I'm sure that's not the same across the board, and I don't want to appear to generalise, but it is a good example of just how some think of those in need. This is 10 facts the mainstream media won't tell you about the war in Syria. And it's by Darius Shatamazabi of theantimedia.org. Corporate media regularly attempts to present Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria as solely responsible for the ongoing conflict in the region. The media does report on events that contradict this narrative, albeit sparingly. But taken together, these underreported details shine a new light on the conflict. Assad may be brutal and should face trial for allegations of widespread human rights abuses, but this fact alone does not make the other circumstances untrue or irrelevant. People have the right to be properly informed before they allow themselves to be led down the road of more war in the Middle East, and consequently more terror attacks and potential conflicts with Russia and China, and therefore World War III. And please, don't say it can't happen. Merkel's worst nightmare. Germany calls for a referendum as the people want to be free of the EU. Frauke Petri is calling for a German EU referendum. Far-right figures in Alternative for Germany has promised to call their own vote if they clutch power in the country's general election in autumn next year. Eurosceptic feeling is also surging in the Netherlands, with 2/3 of voters rejecting a Ukraine-EU treaty on closer political and economic ties. Anti-EU politician Geert Wilders declared the result the beginning of the end for the Dutch government and the EU, and it can't come soon enough. Now, you may remember a while ago that the doctors, when you went in there, you may have been handed a form, or there may have been a form there for you to pick up and have a read and then fill in and return, to opt out of having all your data sold off to a private company via care.data. I was one of those people that opted out of the scheme because I don't want my personal medical details being sold off to anyone, private or otherwise. From theconversation.com, care.data has been scrapped, but your health data could still be shared. This also shows in the NHS's plans for care.data successors, one of which appears to be a single GP dataset, basically care.data without the opt-outs. Caldicott and the government are taking a new negotiation position with GPs and patients on data sharing, in which the usefulness of the data takes the upper hand. The mechanism proposed for consent consists of providing information and then granting patients a few limited opt-outs. As this does not sit well with the new European Data Protection Law's idea of consent, a clear affirmative action, we should expect further developments both in the public debate and on the legal side. So whichever way you go, your data is going to be sold off to private companies who can use it in any way they like, and you won't have a say in it, because there won't be any opt-out options. Your data is on its way out into the big wide world, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, this week's anti-social media report involves a lady called Hillary Clinton. Well, there's a surprise, eh? Hillary Clinton, who would have guessed it? You see, she stumbled on some steps and had to be helped up, and I made a comment about whether her health was up to being president. And this seemed to cause uproar with somebody called Michelle Redding. And this also went through to CBS News and Hillary Clinton. And Michelle, unfortunately, has blocked me from the rest of her site, so I can't actually show you everything that she said, although she did accuse me of being a little boy, and how would I feel if I'd spent all day in high heels? Yes, she actually said something along the lines of, "How would you feel if you'd spent all day in high heels, little boy?" So I replied with this: "Well, I've spent every day on my feet doing more than that, pig, little girl. And have you seen the video of her having some kind of seizure or fit or something on YouTube? Just search Hillary Clinton convulsion. See what comes up, and you tell me if that's a person that's fit for government and fit to hold the highest office in the Western world." And that was this week's anti-social media, dedicated to Michelle Redding too.
Meaningful endorsement in every way, and I was very proud of that.
Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren?
You guys have got to try the cold chop.
Well, that was just a little snapshot of the week on Alan's Antics on RadioFreeUK.org. To hear the full recordings and a whole lot more, go to RadioFreeUK.org. And there'll be more next week. Take care and have a safe one.